Hello there, this is Julia England in my CS 499 capstone class. Today I will be doing a code review of multiple codes. I will be looking over my bank application code as well as a vector sorting code to go over three categories with you. We're going to look at software engineering and design. We're going to look at algorithms and data structures as well as databases. So we're going to start here with software engineering and design, and I have chosen to use my bank application project to do this. So let's begin. Let's get started looking at the bank application code, how it works, and what it does. So this code, the purpose of it is to calculate monthly interest and return a new balance. So what it does here is it will ask the user or whoever is doing the code for an initial investment amount. So what you want to start with, it's going to ask for a monthly deposit. Let's actually scroll down here and see how it asks you for these. So yes, line 141, that's where it asks you for the initial investment amount. Say you start with $500, it's going to ask you for a monthly deposit. So each month I want to put in $5. It's going to keep track of that, it's going to calculate it. And then the annual interest. So every year, how much interest, like a percent, you can see here I use a percent. So 5% interest, let's say. And then it calculates the number of years. So this mathematically will come out with an answer of like, at the end of 5 years with this amount of investment, how much money will I have? So this code, the purpose of it is basically just to help people who say they want to buy a house or they're doing their savings, this and that. This is what that code is good for. It is quite simple, but it is useful. So each month it'll print month by month the original balance, the interest earned, and the new balance or the closing balance. But let's look at how we get all of this. So you scroll to the top here. This is where the code begins. And you see we have includes here. That's everything we need to get this code going, get it to function well. And then we want to take a look here at the main class. So the main class here is called Bank Application. And what we have here is all of our getters and setters. So what a getter and a setter are they're used in object-oriented programs to access private attributes. So we do have a lot here. We have all of our getters and then our setters. Setters all begin with the void. And all of our getters, they either return a float or an integer. So let's see an example here. A float, integer, that's what they're returning. Whereas the setters, they return a void because they're not actually returning anything. If we look down at 113 at the end of the getters and setters, we can see all the variables in that class that the getters and the setters are acting on. So we have that through 113 and 124. Those are all of our variables right there. All right, so yes, you keep scrolling down. You can see the forever while loop. So this is what we looked at earlier, the monthly deposit. This is how the code is working, what it's doing. All of these, we already looked at those, but this loop, this will go on forever. So you want to try it with one number, then you're done. You want to try it with another number. You can just keep using this forever and forever as long as you're entering amounts. And then you see here, this is how it prints everything out. And you can also see how it functions in the code. So if you want to continue, you just press any key on the keypad. That's what it's telling you. Kind of walks you through it. Something that you can notice when looking throughout this whole code, though, is there is very little, almost no comments here. So something I'd really like to work on in improving this code is adding comments. I want to put here about the getters and the setters, I want to include why the floats and the integers are returning for the getters and then the setters are void. I would like to write that. I would at least like to show where it starts, and then I would like to go into the while loop and explain what's happening here. So there is no comments. That is something that needs a lot of improvement. I plan on implementing that into my enhancements. And then down here, this is something little, something I'm going to remove. It's just old comments from when I created this project. I never removed them at the end. I'd like to get rid of that, clean it up a little bit. But let's actually talk about what I am doing and what I'm changing in this project. So the first thing that is going to change is this code right now is written in C++. I want to rewrite it in Java. I enjoy writing in Java. I think it's more fun for me. I enjoy it. I think it's functional. So the whole code will be changed to Java. So with that, obviously, the first thing that changes is all the includes. So for example, the imports will be changed to imports for graphing as well. They'll be used for GUI, like Java Swing. Those will be changed up here. That's the first step. Let's talk about what we're actually doing to make these changes. So what else is changing in this app aside from the actual language is I want to implement a GUI or a graphical user interface. The functionality of the code stays the same. So you're gonna have getters, setters, you're going to have a main while loop and stuff, but the complexity will change. It will be much more advanced. I want to be able to print a premium and interest rate. Again, it's more in depth than just printing an interest rate. It goes one step further. I want to print the first year with the interest payments and the balance for each month. So instead of just printing one final balance, I want to be able to print each interest payment, the balance each month, and then the final balance. Um, in addition to this, I also want to be able to compare those rates. So I want to look at if it's a 5% interest compared to 10%, or if you start with $500 rather than $1,000. I want to be able to compare those rates. This will be much widely more able to use for everybody who wants to look at their finances. So one way that I want to display all of this is I would like to add graphs. So I want the graphs to be able to be sort of like a line graph and show from the start, you start with this amount of money, how much is it going up, how much is it going down over time as you add this many monthly payments, how much the interest is. I want to be able to visually see that. And I also want to be able to compare graphs. So if you want to compare a graph from 5% to 10%, this code will be able to do that. The way I plan on doing the graphs is using a graph inside of a JFrame. So I will be implementing that into this code. And yes, that is the first edits that I will be doing to this project. So implementing a GUI, adding graphs, adding comments, making it more readable. Something that I did want to mention that I did already do well in this project was using camel case. So one of the questions in the code review is how did you conform to standards? And something that I do think was done well here is using camel case. So what that looks like is each word being capitalized. I think the code is very readable aside from using comments. It is organized quite well. There's no extra code, no redundancy. It's just very neat overall. So this will make it much easier to change the code over to Java since it is pretty neat and organized. There's no extra code that doesn't need to be there. So that is my plan for this code. All right, and looking at our next category as well as our next code, we are going to be going over algorithms and data structures. The project that I chose to do this is a vector sorting project. So what this code already does, it is quite long, it is long code. For what it does take courses from a CSV file. So they are written into a CSV file. It takes those and it sorts them alphabetically by course title. How this does this is it uses a quick sort. You can look at the menu options, which I will scroll down to and show you the different options of what this code does. Like I said, it is quite long. Here we go. Menu options. So it displays a menu for you. In a little black screen, it says the different options. Option number 1 is to load the courses. So this is where the code will read from the CSV and it'll store them into a vector of course objects. And then the second option is it will display the courses. So it'll list out these courses. They're not yet sorted, so they're just in the order that they are in the file. It will then quick sort all of the courses, which will put it into alphabetical order. It'll then exit. The final choice right here, this is where you enter what you want to do. So you can press 1, 2, 3, or 9. So you press 1, it'll load the courses, 2, display, 3, sort, 9, exit. Once you're already at number 3, it'll display the courses in alphabetical order. So that is what this does right now. I know it is a lot of code for such a simple thing to do, but I plan on making quite a few changes. Let's look at how this code actually functions from start to beginning though. So you want to look at line number 33. This is where the classes are reading from the CSV. You're using a row class, you can see right here. Then you scroll down to line 74, and you can see there's a parser class. These will actually be gone when we make our changes, but that is how it is doing that right now. Then we want to scroll down 372. All right, 372. So these are all the where the data structure stores the course information. You can see at 394 down here. 394, this is where everything is displayed, the course information to the console. So you go down to 404. This is where you can search for a bid based on the course ID. So each course has an ID. Say it's like CS 499, that is the ID. The actual name of the class would be like Computer Science Capstone. You search for the ID and it will return the actual name. And then in 427 down here, you can see where it loads the courses from the CSV file. This is a flat file. That's where all the information is coming from. See, we want to go down to 473 down here. And this is where the partition is called from the quicksort. The main function itself doesn't even start until 589 down here. 589. So this is where the actual main function starts. It does not even start until all the way down here. So like I said, it is quite a large code, but it is sorting from a CSV file, which is quite simple. I have a few changes I'd like to make to this code. Again, this is for the algorithms and data structure categories. So the changes I want to make is I want to implement a merge sort. What a merge sort is it divides into two halves. So the courses, it'll divide them into two different halves. It'll sort each half. It'll merge them back together. This is just a different way to sort. So yes, the quick sort is already working. I would like to try a different sort. I think this one is my first time doing it. It seems like it would work very well in this code. It'll be implemented well. Looking at the actual code itself, I definitely think it is quite large. There is possibly some redundancies in the comments. So I'd like to go over and change that. Overall, I think it could be documented a little better, organized a little bit better. Since it is such a large code, you want a little less of all of this. The code comments in there are still from the original project as well. So there are some to-dos in there. There are some readmes. There are some fix-me's. I would like to remove all of this and make it a finished, polished product. It'll just make it look better. Again, I would just remove these comments. I don't think it's necessary right there. Top of the code looks pretty good. There's not too many extra comments, but again, this is where I would add more comments actually. I think the bottom of the code has too much. It has too much fluff, whereas the top of the code does not have enough. It needs to explain more. But yes, that is my plan for the algorithm section. I have actually chosen to use the same code for databases.